So, hello, and today we're here with Melanie Charles, and Melanie is a freelance trainer, and she's a trainer who has been on both sides of the sort of training spectrum, so taking both freelance part-time work and also taking contracts, full-time contracts.
Yep.
So, I thought she'd be a perfect person to talk about the realities of freelance training and some of those things will actually work for freelance training and consultation in other industries as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So when I first met Melanie, it was a while ago, and Melanie was working for 10 UK as
Yeah.
a trainer there and manager and trainer. Is that right?
Yeah. So I headed up their global department across 17 offices. And I mean, I started as a trainer like other
Yeah.
trainers do, doing training and full life cycle. So, at 10, I was doing head of, but actually, I've not done any roles that really needed me to have that managerial experience. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And you were there for quite a while, weren't you?
9 years. I'm a
Yeah.
bit of a stayer when it comes to jobs, although I was until I went out on my own. And now staying in a job just feels quite foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
Freelancing, contracting roles, it's quite exciting. And right now, I think is a real opportunity for anyone coming into that freelance or contracting space because a lot of businesses don't want to have headcount because
Yeah.
headcount means a cost to their share price, bottom line, and actually contracting roles will start to become really quite popular again.
Yeah.
And with IR35, if you're in the UK, that's been held back. So it does mean that you can take a contract role with more value. It has more monetary value to you in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you said you were a bit of a stayer. What prompted you to take the leap into being freelance?
So I was quite stale towards the end of my role. I knew that, and I was doing everything to try and get myself into a position where I wasn't stale for the business. I was applying for other jobs. It just I was stressed. I just wasn't in a great place for me, I think.
Yeah.
And it was just time. It was the right thing for the business. It was the right thing for me. And I took a little time off, not a lot after, just to sort of really settle myself and start to work out what I wanted. But yeah, it was essentially the right time. I think I have a 9-year thing. I moved to the UK
Yeah.
after 9 years in my job in Australia, and then this, and now huge change
Yeah.
in where I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously this site is all about recovering after redundancy. Have you ever had
Yeah.
any experience of being made redundant?
So I've been on the other side of
Ah,
redundancy.
yeah.
So, well, early on, actually, I've been within two lots of redundancy, and the first was actually I was an employee rep for just because I'm quite mouthy when I need to be. And I really believe in other people and standing up for them. So I was the perfect person the first time round. And then the second time I was actually a leader myself at that
Mm,
point. And I had to make my team redundant. And
yeah.
I mean, I don't think either side is easy, but I had an amazing team.
Mm,
Um, and it's hard when you have to sort of do that, especially when you've got great people,
mm,
and the only reason is just the business can't sort of support that cost.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a massive shame. Yeah.
yeah,
So let's go back to the sort of the freelance work that you do. So obviously I mentioned that you do both freelance part-time and you
yeah,
do sort of contracts
yeah.
full-time. Can you take us through the pros and cons of each of those?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, freelance is just a little more unstable. If you look, that's one of the cons. It's, you just don't always know where your money's coming from.
Mm,
So it does sometimes mean more money. Freelance work, you can, because you're getting a day rate for sort of a shorter period of time, you can actually get more money, from a day rate point of view. But if you're someone who needs a touch more stability, then maybe have a part-time job and do some freelance work. If you're trying to transition in, even take a coffee job to, sort of tide you over to pay your bills. And then, as long as you've got sort of full days, you can say when you're free to work for freelance work. I love it because I get to do different things. I've experienced training that I would never have done before. I've done work for the NHS, Westfield, just different companies. It's really exciting. Depending on what you do, you either get to write it or someone gives you the content and you deliver their content. So that can be great as well, as if you're not as comfortable writing training. There's a lot of freelance work out there where you're given work and, you're asked to go off and deliver what their content is. So, I mean, I love both sides. And then contracting work it's great because you do see the end, whereas freelance work, you don't necessarily see. I think you really need to understand yourself. If you're freelancer, you don't necessarily see the end result, the impact that your training is having. You're there for sort of the day or the short period of time, and you're delivering. And if you're someone who loves to train and deliver, it's such a great opportunity for you. Contracting is a bit different because actually you might do lots of different things. So in my last contracting role, I was managing an e-learning project, which I'd never done before, and that was brilliant. It was very much in information security, so I learned all about that, and that was fantastic. I got to see the end result, and I got a good day rate, so I got paid really well. Contracting roles generally do extend beyond what the original contract is, but also don't think of that as a guarantee. I think with contracting, you do get, great money, but you've got to think there might be a gap in between as well. So I mean, there hasn't been a gap in between for me, but I was sort of always prepping myself beforehand to move to the next role. I didn't wait till that role had finished. But I think you need to allow 3 months in between, and the money does allow for that, as long as you're saving and making sure that you're being smart with your money. Both of them have benefits. The freelance role is just a bit more, for those people who fly by the seat of their pants and like to do different things. Contracting role is just a bit safer, but exciting at the same time because you're doing something new each contract you go into.
I thought one thing I think is important to say actually with regards to you is that I know writing is a really big thing in your life. You've written poetry books and children's novels and things. So I believe this type of work allows you to actually do your writing, doesn't it?
Yeah, the freelance work allows me to do it from a headspace even more because I'm not getting engaged in a business at all. Like I'm not having to think about the politics, as much as it's not the same as being a permanent worker. You're never ever stuck in the politics like you are in a permanent job. But you still, when you do a permanent contract, you're more ingrained in that. You're thinking about the job a bit more. So you do have some of that. But freelance, you have just this total freedom of, as long as you know where your next financial, money is coming from, then it does give you the freedom to do virtually anything. Lots more coffee and lunches when I was freelance than when I was contracting. But yeah, so for me, that's why I quite like this lifestyle. It just gives me time to do other things and to sort of really plan for my future in a very different way. Yeah.
So for anybody listening to this or watching this that feels that, okay, I want to take what I do and look for a contract or a freelance work, what would be the best way to start?
So LinkedIn, is key. That's the first thing. LinkedIn is key. It's probably even more important than your CV. It is where you will make your contacts. You don't need business cards. You don't need a fancy website unless you need to display things like coding or things. So contracting work isn't just training or freelance. It's a lot of things. But LinkedIn is key. It's the place I would go. Clean up your LinkedIn profile. Make sure it's specific. It covers that tagline, says that you're looking for work and what type of work you're looking for. If you're a trainer, you're an end-to-end trainer, what experience do you have? Do you have coaching? Just really highlight, get someone else to look at it for you as well. And really, that's the first thing people see. And then just start reaching out to people and make it personable. None of this trying to sell, just connect. LinkedIn is about connecting. So think, I'm building relationships with these people. You never know where your work's going to come from. And I can guarantee I have never known where my work's come from. I've had a job from a random Facebook group once. So, and actually that was a great job that lasted quite a few months. So think about your social media. If you've got any social media that might be controversial, shut it down, make it private. Businesses don't need to see that. It does represent who you are and what you think. I know that's quite a controversial thing, but all businesses now look at people's social media. It's just what they do as a standard upfront thing.
And I guess if you're representing a training company, that's even more important, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because they don't want to take on anybody that might be controversial.
Yeah. And your beliefs are your own, so just make it private amongst you and your friends, or invite only, or whatever social media you're on. Start making connections. So freelance work is very much about just put yourself out there, jump on job search Facebook groups. You have to be willing to sort of put your name out there. Have someone who might be an ambassador for you as well if something comes up, who can sort of give some feedback about work that you've done previously. If you can, that's not always necessary. Contract work is always through recruiters, so find out who the recruiters are. For training, there's people like Oakleaf Recruitment, I think, is one. But all the job boards have it, so go to Reed or Indeed or whatever it is, look, using the filters, and then look at actually who the recruiters are, and then just go straight to the recruiters rather than through Reed. And build that relationship with the recruiter, because all of the contractors that I've worked with now only ever work with one recruitment agency going forward.
Okay.
So you start to build a name for yourself, and once you've done your first contract, that's it. The world sort of open, and you start getting offered a lot more. If you know someone at that company, how I got my first contracting role was, I saw a job, I knew someone who worked at the company, asked if they'd send my CV for me. They did, and I got an immediate interview in the job like weeks later.
Okay, so they sent the CV rather than you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, and I've just done that for two friends as well. For a company that I've worked for, they had heard about a job that I knew of, so I just sent the CV because I was happy to recommend them.
Yeah.
So, look, the UK is very much about it's about connections. It really is. Contracting world, especially. People who you do contracts with, make sure you keep in touch with them, add them on LinkedIn. I mean, we have a group from my last contract, so we're all supporting each other, seeing where everyone is, what jobs they're in. So it's just maintaining those connections. I think that's what freelancing and contracting is about. It's really about connections and building relationships.
Okay. So you've mentioned money a few times.
Yeah.
As a freelancer or a contractor, how much power do you have? Do you just have to accept what the day rate is? Can you negotiate?
Always negotiate.
Okay.
So it's really important to understand your market. So first of all, the financial industry will always pay more because that's just the way it is. So, and I made this mistake in my first contracting job. I knew my sort of broad market, didn't know the financial industry market, and they paid more money. And I just took what was offered. It was a great day rate. And I thought, oh, fantastic. But actually, I could have negotiated and asked for quite a bit more.
Okay.
So it pays to understand, it pays to do your research first. That's the first thing. There's a lot of businesses out there trying to lowball. I mean, as a trainer, if we're looking at day rate, I won't take anything below $250 a day. And that's actually quite low.
Yeah.
And that would be something I would do because it would be something I would enjoy, or sort of I was really looking for something at the last minute. But yeah, you should be thinking, depend on your level of experience. But if you're an experienced trainer with a couple of years under your belt, then you should be sort of thinking 350 is about right for your day rate. Set up a company. Don't go through a umbrella company. It just you just lose a lot of money that way. Set up a company, and there's a lot of companies out there that will help you set it up and manage it if that's something that you're not comfortable doing either. So do your research, know what the amount for that market is. There are some jobs that are offering 150, and if maybe you're okay with that and you think I'm just going to do that for my first contract, then go ahead, do it. Just do what's right for you, but then know next time, actually my next contract I should be looking for about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, with a contract going through a recruiter, do you have much leeway there?
Always.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's the recruiter's job to get more money for you because they're getting a percentage. So, tell them that, is ask if there's any wiggle room. You don't even have to say how much you're looking for, but you ask if there's any wiggle room. They'll have asked that question. They already know the answer to it, and they already know what the ceiling price is. But they're also given sort of a mid-level, this is what I want to pay. So they'll run in at that. But for a candidate, someone wants that's good, that has the experience, you've got definitely room to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose takeaways that I'm hearing are, the upsides of, freelancing is you can fit in time to do some lifestyle things that you enjoy. You can work on different things, learn a lot. So pack out your CV in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And the benefits of contracting over freelancing might be that your income's a bit more secure, a bit more stable. Downside might be that there's a little bit more time involved in politics and that sort of thing. If you're up for it, if you're interested, get on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Set up your profile, right? And in fact, we've got a video with somebody on the site that is all about how to set up your LinkedIn profile. And then reach out, make those contacts, make those connections. So I suppose a question there would be, how do you do that? Because I'm sure you're the same. You get 20 odd messages on LinkedIn a day saying, "Hey, Melanie, I thought I saw you here. I thought it'd be great to connect." What would you say would be a great way to connect with somebody without, looking
being
like everybody else?
Look, if you're not trying to sell to anyone, just be honest about where you are. I'm new to contracting. If you hear of any roles come up, can you send them my way? Or, just be honest with people and human. And people want to be kind. It's that natural thing. It's when you're being sold to that people immediately have that reaction of delete.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of people reach out. I did a graduate day for the last contract I did. No idea how I got wrangled into it. But quite a few of the graduates reach out to me after, and just because I come from that training aspect. And, I'm more than happy to answer questions. And most people on LinkedIn are.
Yeah.
I think if you come at it from building relationships rather than trying to get something, people are always so willing to help you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. Yeah.
And I suppose the one thing that probably stressed me about, and I don't know if other people are like this, but, I was a stayer in jobs. So I knew who I worked with. I had friends at work. And that's something that I started my contract pretty quickly. So I didn't even have time to think that. But I do wonder if other people, and I've never asked other contractors who were sort of new, the first time you contract, it's like, how do I make friends? What's it's going to be like, that first day. And I think just be aware that the companies that you go into have so many contractors that actually they're quite used to this. It's something that is really normal. I think the business I was in had 50% contractors. So, that's how common it is. And actually, everyone understands that. They know that you're coming in as a contractor. Your job is to not know the company, but to learn it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
and then to jump in and to sort of, just find your feet in the role pretty quickly. And if you're experienced, it's really easy to do that. Training and learning and development doesn't differ really across businesses. It's just the subject and how people, what their objectives are and their goals.
Yeah. Lots of great advice there, actually. I love the one about negotiating.
Always. But I think it's know your value, and I don't think I knew my value until I started to become a contractor. And then you start to realize that I think learning and development can either be an area that you're paid pretty averagely in, but contracting role, you'll get double that. But then you've got to just remember to be smart with your money, put it away, because you might just have a break in between contracts. But, as I said, a lot of contracts go a lot longer than you originally anticipated. I started at 6 months and it went for a year and a bit, and it only stopped because I had a different role already lined up.
Okay. Any last tips or thoughts for our listeners?
Just good luck. It's, I think it is scary going from a permanent role, but it really does have so many benefits and extras. And right now, it doesn't mean that you can't go into a permanent role later on. I think that's really important. You might just try your hand at contracting or freelancing for a year. You don't have to stick at it. You don't have to stay there forever. If you see a permanent role. So I always said to recruiters, because I often get called about roles still, and recruiters say to me, are you looking? And I say, I'm looking if the right job comes up. And that's true. If the right job is the right company with the right values, with the right money, I know my value now. Then, that's sort of something that, I never ever say no, or just, say I'm not looking, because something might come up that is absolutely perfect for me.
So basically be open-minded and just
keep doors open. And you don't need to go to networking events. That's old hat. It's done. People, also with COVID, who networks anymore? But networking isn't the way to do it anymore. It is that personable approach, LinkedIn, recruiters, and just speaking to people on the phone.
I suppose just to sort of wind up, because obviously you mentioned COVID, and what used to be an area where you would go into a sort of classroom-based scenario, it's obviously changed now, hasn't it? A lot of training is over Zoom or alternatives. Any comments on that?
I think, I've done a lot of Zoom training before we even started here, or webinar training. I think you have to really think blended learning, come at it from a different place than you have before, which is classroom. I've heard a lot of people talking about we'll never go back to that. I disagree. I think some things really have value face to face. And sometimes it's about building the relationships and connections and that feel in the room. But now we've got to think blended. So think, what are you going to give the person or the group of people to get on board before you even come into that room together? How do we get everyone on the same page? And we do, where I'm doing some work now, we're doing it through learning pathways of free content from the internet, great YouTube videos, stuff like that. And then it's just, shorter sessions because people's attention span is shorter, bite size, and then give them learning in between. I think that's sort of the solution for now. And then really start to build out your e-learning and what those sort of bite-sized learnings look like. Sorry, we've got a jackhammer now.
I can hear it now, Yes. Well, I think we are just about done anyway, because there's loads of valuable things in there. And I like your last point about, things are changing. It is online, it is blended. And, if you're used to standing in front of people at work, just be aware that, going forward, you're going to have to bring other things to the table.
And businesses are going to ask that question. So be prepped. You've probably never been asked in an interview about it. Oh, by the way, contracting, you never get interviewed normal. It's sometimes you might get one interview and you've got the job, just FYI.
Mm.
And if you've worked with someone previously, they probably won't even interview you. So the world is a bit different when it comes to recruitment. But I think standing in front of a room, I'm an old, I love facilitating rather than training, I suppose. But I do love online. There's a real way to engage with people. My only challenge is you can't see each people individual and what their reaction is to content. So your content has to be a bit more bland, and you have to be careful about jokes that you might have said in a training room where people had gotten to know the feel of you will go across really, really well. Online, you'll have dead air.
And that's
so
it's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's got to be blander. Bring your personality, definitely, because that's really important. But you've toned down maybe what you might not have toned down before. I mean, any trainer knows we say the same jokes over and over again.
Yeah.
Probably leave the jokes at the door this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
No worries. Anytime.
Thank you.